G'day viewers, hope you've got a bit of a cuppa. It's time for the final development update prior to the release of Just Train's West Coast Main Line over SHAP. As usual, I read these articles to improve the accessibility and to add my own commentary. This one is dated the 13th of November 2024, and it says, so for our final in-dev update of the series, we are covering the feature locomotive in the route, the iconic and powerful Class 87/0, and the much anticipated Mk.3a and NHA Coaches. A little bit of background on the real-world locomotive. The Class 87 was designed and built by British Rail Engineering Limited, BREL, between 1973 and 1975, with 35 of the type being constructed. They were designed to run on the West Coast Main Line, hauling both passenger and freight services. The class was developed to give additional capacity to the express passenger electric traction fleet. As well as allowing that to happen, it gave an increase in performance over the earlier Class 86 machine. The Class 87 was British Rail's flagship electric-powered locomotive until superseded by the Class 90, which itself was an improved version of the Class 87. So JT have been dropping hints recently of another locomotive. They used 3 particular songs, which all came out in 1986, so we're guessing that the next one is an 86, but we'll see on that. The Class 87 had an impressive 5,000 horsepower, 3728 kilowatts, to handle the demanding gradients on the northern half of the West Coast Main Line, such as Shap Summit. The top speed was 110 miles an hour, 180 kilometers an hour in modern money, which is the fastest speed allowed on the West Coast Main Line for trains that are unable to tilt. The Just Train's Class 87/0 carries on the power and magnificence of the real thing in Train Sim World 5, having the iconic, purposeful look, authentic controls and authentic performance captured by reference to real-world data, being carefully and expertly worked into the Simugraph Dynamics engine. All of the real fleet's 34 nameplates are included. The locomotive sound set is based on sounds captured from the real-world 87, and so you're assured of an authentic audio experience that ranges from the gentle, slightly non-rhythmic clacking of the external pressure relief valve to the iconic sound of the tap changer moving as you power up and down. The 87 looks fantastic both inside and out due to the careful and painstaking creation of its BR Blue and BR Intercity executive liveries. These liveries are not only authentic, but have been painstakingly weathered to show the typical daily appearance these locomotives had, from the dust and dirt down the sides, to the grease on the buffers, to the bugs and muck on the front and rear sections. The accurate modelling and attention to every detail, both externally on the underframe and bogies, with the massive suspension springs, to the look and feel of the cabs, to the unique access to the corridor, captures the 87/0 to a T. Internally, the cab shows the effects of daily use from normal wear and tear, along with more practical signs such as tape wound around the power controller and master switch handles to aid with grip. In the cab, you will see a set of operational instruments, levers, buttons, indicator lights and controls to enable you to drive this advanced machine. It even has a working Bardic lamp. One of the unique features is the machine room area. This is a corridor that runs between the 2 cab ends. On many DLC locomotives, you are unable to access this area, but in the Class 87/0, not only can you access the machine room from both cab ends, but you can walk from one cab end to the other, so no need to climb down and then up to change cabs anymore. However, aside from that feature, you can actually access and operate the vast majority of controls that live in the machine room. That sort of suggests that they might be angling this at some point in the future to be an expert locomotive. That would be interesting. In this area, the heart of the loco, there is a plethora of circuit breakers, indicators and switches that not only animate and so move, but in operating them they actually have an effect on the operation of the locomotive. However, being fair, there are a small number that do animate but have no effect. So from the auxiliary compressor via the parking brake, the tail lights up to the fire alarm system and the large traction motor main circuit breakers, MCBs, and others, you have a lot of control. It has been our clear aim to make the Class 87/0 as authentic as possible, and one of these aims is the implementation of neutral sections operations. On the West Coast Main Line, Preston to Carlisle, the neutral sections await your driving skill. As you approach each neutral section, you will need to wind down the tap changer to ensure that as you enter that section, you have no power applied, as if you do, you face a real risk of circuit breakers tripping and coming to a halt. We appreciate that this procedure may be unfamiliar to new or some, and so the procedure covering neutral section operations is included in the extensive manual that comes with the route. That's good, there's a book. But don't worry, we have included an introduction to the Class 870 that covers the basic operations in the TSW5 training centre. It is one of those challenging things that when you bring out more lifelike, real-life features in the locomotives, they get closer to the real thing. And the reality is, could you climb into an average locomotive and go and drive it without any experience? No, you couldn't. You might get it moving, but good luck stopping. When that starts to translate into the game, it can make it much more difficult for some players. So there is a careful balance to be struck between realism and sales and reviews, because when people can't drive it, it's not that they think, well, I just don't know what I'm doing, so I need to learn. They think this thing's broken because they're used to being babied and having a really simple train to drive. As someone who actually operates on a real railway, it's not like that, you know. It really isn't. Anyway, back to the article. The Class 870 is featured in 2 of the included scenarios and features extensively in the included authentic and intensive 24-hour timetable that covers both passenger and freight operations. One of the coaches that the 87/0 will be pulling is the Mark 1 NHA guards and parcels van, which includes the guards compartment, which is located in the central area and is flanked by an open area at either end where the parcels would be stored. Also housed here are the guards controls. The NHA also comes with audio announcements. The passenger coaches are the Mk.3a, FO, RFB and TSO. People are pretty happy with the audio announcements, I imagine. Hopefully they're not tied to the route and pick up their words from the route itself. All the coaches, including the NHA guards and parcels van and the RFB restaurant car, come with different interiors with different coloured fabrics and furnishings between the liveries. The coaches are supplied in 2 liveries, which are Intercity Executive and BR Blue Grey. An authentic sound set recorded from the real-world stock adds to the authenticity. Driving the Class 87/0 whilst pulling a set of mixed coaches is much more of a hands-on, seat-of-your-pants experience than a modern touchscreen near fully automatic locomotive one. Are you up for the challenge? Here's a privileged first look video showing off the Class 87 and a set of screenshots that should help to whet the appetite further. Righto, let's take a bit of a look at the video on the Class 87. Cute intro. So Winston Churchill, Class 87019. Looks suitably grubby. Good detailing. Can you look through those portholes? That's something I want to know. Changing ends and turning on the AWS and resetting. Always kind of impressed at the people that make these videos without having the cursor on. There we go, into forwards. Doesn't look like we're going to get to drive though, because there's a red signal there. Righto, that's it then. Okay, let's have a look at the pictures, shall we? This is the Mk.3a TSO coach, complete with greasy buffers. Good to see. The interior, complete with the coveted table seats. Mk.3a RFB coach, restaurant buffet, again with nice greasy buffers. The interior of the buffet looks like it's closed. So, no cup of tea for you. We've got King Arthur, 87010. Wonder how much of that bogey material moves in this one. Got the interior cab of the Class 87 with its max speed 110, sun visors. Looks nice and grubby. And this is the Bardic lamp they were talking about when they're saying that it's fully functional. I assume that means you can change colours. I wonder if you can pick it up. The Mk.3a FO coach. The interior. That looks a bit cleaner than it could be. The Black Prince, 87011. Looks quite nice. Interior of a coach. Again, it looks remarkably clean. Interior of the locomotive, the Class 87. Close-up of the Black Prince number plate, nicely rendered, quite crisp. This level of detail, while I really appreciate it, may cause people on older consoles problems. An image showing some of the circuit breakers you can turn on and off, and giving us the hint you can open that panel. Curious if you can open anything else. Can't zoom. I was hoping to zoom in on that. Perhaps you can. Just trying to see what that was. Some kind of telephone. Oh, this is the guards compartment. So this might be... Yeah, this is the guards compartment. So that's probably communication to the locomotive, perhaps, or maybe to the outside world. You can see a spare coupler, handbrake, the emergency train brake lever, probably a buzzer to the locomotive. Well, that's all there is to this one, because we've come down to the one that we talked about in our last article. So it's looking really good. Lots of detail, quite crisp, quite interesting, suitably weathered for the most part. Looks pretty interesting. So we've not got long until we see this, so Dovetail will be streaming it tomorrow morning for me, 6 AM, along with the Just Trains people. And then we get to see it on, I think, the 29th of November from memory, so it's not terribly far away. Alrighty, that's it for this morning, and enjoy yourselves. I hope this article has been useful, and we shall see you soon. Alrighty, bye now.
We played a game.